Folks, I'll be sharing my techniques and this technology at these upcoming spaces. Sure hope to meet you there. Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, November the 2nd, and this is the Futures in 5. We've got ourselves a little bit of a lull until the job numbers, and those are going to be coming in just a few moments. By the time this is up and running, they will probably have been released. And so let's take a look at what's going on. We're at a clear resistance zone. This is a proper target level that we've got adjusted, and then there's another target level actually just below this region right here at 68, and then above that we've got 76 and 82 to 84, somewhere around that zone as upper spaces. You know, if we take a look at, say, a weekly chart, we faded, right? This was our short action. This is what I put up in the post a couple of weeks ago, maybe now. I said, hey, listen, as we come into this area, this is where we're going to see a primary bounce. We did do that. Now we're coming into primary resistance, and those primary resistance numbers we can see clearly coming up into these spaces. So we'll watch that fairly carefully. How we close the week is going to be pretty important. Our candlestick bodies are showing that this current week is inside of the prior week, so that could be a week of indecision, but we could also have a big spike and then a fade, right, which would make the entire body an engulfing candlestick. So we'll watch and see what goes on. We do expect that pullbacks at the first pass going to give us buy zones, but we have been selling off good news, and the job numbers are supposed to be good. If they're not good, we could really cascade. My thought is that we are at the top of the heap right now, so we'll see what happens in the next spaces. With the NQ, same sort of thing, fade back into the support zone. First pass test's going to give us buy points. If we cannot get back above 71.10, we've got a problem towards more downside action. But our pullback spaces do tell us that we've got upside pressure building from underneath all these higher lows. And so these areas that have been prior resistance are now going to be tested as support. Taking a look at the YM, same sort of thing happening. We just had this trigger go at 25,586. That is a congestion space. You can see that we stretched, you know, almost to 25,700. Pullbacks, this is a very big motion, so the pullbacks could come really all the way down here to 25,372 if buyers decide that they're going to, keep themselves at bay today and just be a little cautious. All right, everything does suggest pullbacks equal to buy zones. Here's the thing. When it pulls back the first time, if it's a shallow pullback and then it bounces and it can't recapture old resistance and make it new support, that tells us the cycle is shifting and we are going to have more of a fade. So you've got to be open-minded to what's happening in the space. This is a big one, This one's having all kinds of trouble. And still very, very downside. Legitimately, I thought we'd be past this area for now. Let's take a look at a weekly. We're going to see that from a weekly perspective, right? I talked about this selling abating and then collapse of motion all the way down into these deep support levels. Are we potentially looking at those? Yes. We could come all the way back into 62.29. For us, we're going to be prone to selling as long as we're sitting underneath 64.50. Right now, 63.50 is trying to hold as frontline support. And so that's what we're looking at right there. Let me move this back so I pay attention to what's going on. These guys holding steady, right? Now, what's the big problem here in this particular formation? If I take a look at the big picture, this is a bounce into resistance that began to fade, and now it's been holding higher lows. So what are we doing? Well, there's literally very thin volume here, so we could chop around a little bit, but really, as I've mentioned 6 ways to Sunday, as long as we hold above 1232, we're going to have more buyers pushing us into the space. We've got a ton of thin volume action when this completely collapsed, and that really could take us all the way up, right? So this is the old one. So here we are in our space, holding our formations to the upside. with this bullish breach, pullbacks still going to be buy zones. They could be deep. You take a look at what happened this week. All right, that concludes the futures in 5. I would be extremely cautious today, particularly with size, and realize, listen, we've got trend, no problem, but you can obviously see sellers all over the place, and that occurs on any chart that we're looking at. That concludes the futures in 5.